God put in motion two things in the garden: justice and accountability. When justice is broken down, regulations come with repercussion. Rights comes with benefits and privileges. When you obey the law and you keep to the regulations, your right is sustained by heaven. The blessings and the benefits come to you.
This is Selfless City, known as Standard Life Christian Center, where we raise saints with selfless spirit. Ministering Pastor Paul Adumoha, Senior Pastor of SLCC.
Last week or so, while I was reading the Bible, the Spirit of God started ministering to me on what to speak. And it's a series, Nigeria Failing Christianity. Nigeria Failing Christianity. But I will major on performance and legalism. So that is the first problem that causes a failed Christianity or a failing Christianity. But the series will be taught for 3 Sundays, Nigeria Failing Christianity, and I will major this morning on performance and legalism. There's something that gets me worried as a Christian. I am not as old as so many of you might think I am. But what gave me the knowledge or understanding to be able to look at what people did in the 80s and in the 90s was because I was fortunate to have met Christ at the age of 12. And so at that age of 12, I worked with pastors in their 50s and their 60s. So I saw what they mirrored. I went for PFM meeting to represent my pastor several times, pastors meeting at Orel. So I was in pastors' congregation where pastors were having meetings, even at the age of 12, 13, 14. Then I proceeded to pastor a branch at the age of 17. So when branch pastors are having meetings, I also joined them in having meetings. So yesterday, because I function in 2 offices, I function as a priest and as a king. I function in the corporate world, I have a business going for me, and I also am a pastor. So yesterday I was speaking to a man that was a multi-billionaire. We were having discussion because there were a few things I needed to bring from China for him. So he called me as early as 6 and requested that we have a meeting around 10. So I rushed off to meet him. We spent a couple of hours discussing. But he raised a concern. What was the concern he raised? He said it has gotten to a level where he has refused to pay his tithe. So he takes his tithe to the community and uses it to help people himself. Because the churches he was paying tithe to were no longer using the tithe for what tithe was meant for. And so, instead of the church to do what the tithe is, use the tithe for what it is meant for, the pastors use it to enrich themselves. This man, I'm telling you, is a multi-billionaire. He has about 3 houses in the US. He has 3 major factories in the East. He's a billionaire. When I say a billionaire, he's taking age. He lives at Ikoyi. He has other houses scattered around Lagos. And he was telling me his ordeal. That's one of the things he suffered. He came from a background where his father was more like a native doctor before he found Christ. So he has seen the extremism of Satanism and the devil. And he has come to the part of Christianity where he believes that as a Christian, there are certain things that he can do that will make him better. And so, coming into Christianity, he has an expectation. There were some things he had in mind while he came into Christianity. But unfortunately, while he joined Christianity, he noticed that sometimes that even the pagans can be more trusted than the so-called believers. What is Christianity? Christianity is a faith based on the life of Christ. Wow. The life of Christ represents his character and morals while he lived on it. Then that faith is also based on the death of Christ, which represents his sacrifices and the trials he had to go through while on earth. Then the third is that it represents the resurrection of Christ, which signifies his power and dominion over creation. So any part of this that is missing, what you are practicing is not Christianity. If the life of Christ is omitted, you are not practicing Christianity. If you take away his death, you are not practicing Christianity. If you take away his resurrection, you are not practicing Christianity. So for us to say that we are Christians, we must first of all understand his life on earth, his death, and his resurrection. And these attributes must be contained in the life of a Christian. The land of Sodom and Gomorrah in the ancient had about 1,000 houses. Scholars estimated it to be about 1,200 people. Some other people say it's about 1,000 to 50,000 people. And so in Genesis chapter 18, verse 16 down to 33, Abraham was negotiating for Sodom, and he interceded for them 6 times. To tell you how small Sodom was, the Bible said Abraham took 318 men in Genesis chapter 14, and he defeated the entire army of the land of Sodom and Gomorrah in battle. And so let us be conservative. Let's say Sodom is worth 50,000 persons. Abraham started and said to God, if you find 50 people, 1%, will you destroy the city? God said no. If I find righteous men, not church boys. If I find Christians, not people that carry Bible. If I find morally sound Christians, not people that speak in tongues, I will spare the city. 1%. He didn't find. Abraham went further until he got to 10. 0.02%. He would not still find that number of people in the land of Sodom and Gomorrah. A man said something that shocked me. When the missionaries came to Nigeria, they brought purity and holiness. When they encountered Africa, they stopped rituals. They stopped idolatry. They stopped human sacrifices. They stopped a lot of things. They brought in health. They brought in peace. They brought in mercy. They brought in justice and accountability. And when it goes to the time of Africa, do you know what Africa is sending to the world? Africa is sending to the world prosperity and power. What we are selling to the world from Africa is prosperity and power, morals. Sodom means secret sin, bad habits. God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah for an act of wickedness, tyranny, homosexuality, immorality, idolatry. These were the reasons why he destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. Gomorrah means tyranny, destruction. And if you look at the face of Africa, you will notice that these things are prevalent. Everywhere you go, you find it. Everywhere you go, you will find it. Matthew chapter 23, verse 23. Jesus was speaking to us. He said something very important. Matthew 23, verse 23. He was addressing the pastors at that time, the Pharisees. He said, woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you pay tithe of meat and anise and cumin, and have omitted the weightier matters of the law, judgment, mercy, and faith. This ought ye to have done, and not to leave the other undone. What is justice? Justice means equity, fairness to all. What is obtainable to A is obtainable to B. The measure used in giving out to A should be used in giving out to B. What is mercy? Mercy is the love of God so to honor that gives room for sinners and unbelievers to find. What is faith? Faith is trust based on principles, based on character, something that can be verified. Faith is action, deeds, and obedience. That's what faith is. That's what Jesus is saying here. He's saying to the scribe, you pay your tithes, that is good. You fast 2 times in a week, that is good. But the weightier matters, the things that matter in the kingdom, things like justice, being fair to all, we can't find it in here. Things like mercy, being slow to anger, showing love and compassion towards people, we can't find it. Things like faith, your acts, your deeds, obedience to the word of God is missing. So, under Nigerian feeling Christianity, how we treated the first pillar in the series, it is known as performance and legalism. The first thing that happens when Christianity is built on performance and legalism is that it focuses on rules and regulations, negating relationship with God. It focuses on rules and regulations, negating relationship with God. And what is the bishop talking about? Inner transformation. So you meet a pastor that can pray 7 times a day. He can fast for 60 days. He can speak in tongues. He has all the attributes of a Christian. His prayer life is intact. He studies the Bible a certain period of the day. He wakes up in the morning, he prays for 5-10 minutes. He speaks in tongues for 1 hour. He picks his Bible and reads for 1 hour, 2 hours. But inner transformation is missing. The same pastor steals tithes and steals off. So what happens is that when it comes to performance, is sin. You want to see performance, you see a pastor that can preach. You see a pastor that can pray. You see a pastor that can fast. You see a pastor that can post the Bible verses on top of his head. But when it comes to inner transformation, it's missing. You take a pastor to a corner, he steals the church tithes. He steals the church offering. That is exactly the Christianity that we are modeling now for people coming. The Holy Spirit said to me, Paul, one of the reasons why I'm bringing you into this phase of ministry is because Nigeria is standing on 4 pillars. The 4 pillars, 2 pillars are being held by righteous men, another 2 pillars are being held by these so-called righteous preachers. He said, but the fear I have is that one of the pillars held by the righteous might be living in less than 10 years. And what happens is this: if the second pillar is pulled off, we're going to have 3 pillars on injustice, on righteousness, materialism, idolatry, and one pillar on holiness, what happened? The face of Christianity in Nigeria will tint. It will look like a deformed face. So, what performance and legalism does is that it focuses on ritual. So you come to church, you find a man that is a deacon in church. He pays his tithe, he comes for meeting, he does everything. You look at the life of the man at home. There's no difference between him and unbeliever. No inner transformation. If he tells his wife 10 things, 10 are lies. No accountability. If he does business with you, you have to write. There have to be a written agreement by a lawyer for you to hold him accountable. If not, if it's verbal, you can't hold him accountable. He is a Christian. He has been baptized. He speaks in tongues. He carries the Bible. He has never missed Bible service, Sunday services. He comes for Sunday meeting. He comes for Wednesday meetings. He comes for leadership meeting. He does all the trainings. But inner transformation is missing. So what performance and legalism does is that it creates these things when people think that God is a show. The second thing that it does is that it brings people to a place where they seek for human approval. So a gospel is accepted based on the general acceptance of the public, not on the impact it will have on the life of people. So a pastor is that effective and efficient in ministry, not because what he's preaching is impacting the lives of people, but because it's accepted by many people. So as long as it can be accepted, then it's not a problem. I'll give you an example. There was a time a man rose in this country and said that tithing is of the Old Testament, and started bringing out scriptures in the Bible. Some pastors swayed in his direction. Why? They will not counter it. But you and I know that even when we read, Jesus said, He didn't stop me for paying tithes, but do the weightier things. Why? Because some of the pastors have not read the Bible to a level where they have understanding of what the Bible was saying. They started what? Moving in that direction. Why? The majority of people started condemning tithes. So churches that people were paying tithes, they started losing members. So for you to get more members, what happened? You negate what is in the scripture, you accept the public opinion because you want your church to be filled up. So people started accepting. Now when a stronger argument came and said, no, tithing is of the Old Testament and New Testament because he existed before the law, some other pastors came back and said, yes, I preach it. Why? Legalism and performance put Christians in a position when they seek human approval instead of impact. I want to ask you a question that I need you to ponder when you get home. Amongst all the pastors that we have in Africa that have thousands and millions of people following them, how many of them will be greater than John the Baptist? The question is, how many people visited John the Baptist in the wilderness? What was the number of his followers? How many of them do you think on the day of rapture, when they sit in heaven, that they will have better position than John the Baptist? Performance and legalism, base Christianity, raise Christians, breed Christians that seek human approval instead of God's approval. So if the word of God is generally accepted, they accept it. They don't function based on truth and principle. It's what people would say. And that's what we are raising in Nigeria. That's what we are raising in Africa. Before, in Africa, if a pastor divorces his wife, he leaves the altar completely. Except it is proven that the wife left him. But if the story is not clear, he drops down, pulpit, he abandons the he leaves the altar. Someone else took over his ministry. He can go and look for something else to do, and become a trader and get into business and just not go. But The popular opinion has made it accepted when somebody can use some words that don't make sense. You know what the person will say? He say, I and my husband, we are not compatible. You ask him, is he beating you? You say no. Is he fornicating? You say no. He say, we are not compatible because we don't have this chemistry, this connection. So on the basis of chemistry and connection, they are bound to be unwanted. And the same person comes to church, goes in and some of them are pastors. Why? Because in public, it has been generally accepted as something. Well, you want to preach a message that is accepted in Africa, accepted in Europe, accepted in America, so you don't want to hurt people. Jesus said, I did not come to cause peace. I came to create enmity. He said 2 against 3, sometimes 3 against 2. I've come to bring enmity between a father and a son, a woman and her children. Why? Enmity based on truth. So what legalism and performance Christianity does is that it raises Christians that seek human approval instead of God's approval. So as long as you can find yourself within a clique that accepts you, you can continue in sin and waywardness, and nothing will happen. You still profess your faith as a Christian. The third thing is that it raises hypocrisy. So you have leaders that hold people accountable to high standard, moral standard, but in their secret, they practice otherwise. Let me explain to you how Christianity in Nigeria works. Some men gathered in a room and they were worshiping God, and people were coming. So somebody came through the window. When they asked him, he said the people coming from the door are much, so he needs to come through the window and get in faster. Now, instead of the people inside the room to send him out and say, follow the door, they opened more windows for them to come. At the time, people that were coming through the window exceeded the people coming through the door, because you have one door and several windows. So now, 60 to 70% of people inside the hall came through the window and not through the door. The whole place is messed up and bastardized. That's exactly the problem we are having. Hypocrisy at its height. In the 90s and early 20s, if you make a call that people wants to be pastor, you'll be looking for people 10, 5, 15 minutes. If you are a big church now, you make a call and you're looking for pastors, over 10,000 people will be. If you check the record of their hearts, they are not appearing as missionaries. They are appearing for money. They are appearing for fame. They are appearing for popularity. They can do anything just to pray. So, what are the qualities of such Christians? The first quality is that you have people who call critical spirit. You raise Christians that have critical spirit. So, if you don't accept what they are saying or what their pastor is saying, they attack you on social media, they condemn your church, they drag you with their money, and they try to bring you down. The second quality of such Christians is called pride in work. So what happens is that you are raising Christians that believe that the reason why they got to where they are today is because of their intelligence and wisdom. So they teach you principles, but what? They negate the mercy of God and the favor of God. So a pastor can give you step by step how he built a multinational church. And when you listen to him, some of the steps are not from the Bible. but he has results. Because he can provide results, he's accepted in the church. The third thing that erases people pleasing Christians that are eye service, that wants to please people who have no business pleasing God. Then erases Christians that have lack of mercy. They don't have the mercy of God in their hearts. Say, I can never forgive you. Never. Yes, I'm a Christian, but I can never forgive you. I've made up my mind, I can never forgive you. This one, he has crossed the line. That's not the Bible. You know, Christianity is easy when you find yourself on the path that is not acceptable. That is acceptable. I was watching, I think, 700 Club, and they were giving a story. I said, I've said it here in church, of a woman that the husband was a pastor. What the husband did to a man, she can't explain it. But the man saw them, ambushed them, threw something like stone on the glass of their car. The thing affected, the husband ran into a bush or whatever. The man poured petrol on top of the car, lit the car up, and ran. The woman saw the face of the man, the husband saw the face of the man. But unfortunately for the woman, the back door was locked. The door of the husband was locked. Her own door was open, she can't tell, so she forced herself out of the car. Then collapsed. And then she collapsed, the car burst into flames, exploded, and brought the husband and the children to ashes. And she cried, tried to find her, she can't recognize the man, she went around, the man is not close to her. So she continued pastoring her husband's church. And after like 5 or 10 years, she made an altar call. And the man walked down the aisle, standing in front of her. It was the man. So she burst into tears. People thought it was cry of maybe God saving people. But while she was in that place, he said, the Spirit of God said to her, forgive. Another spirit said to her, get the army, get the police, because now the church is big and everything. This is the man that wiped off your family, because now she has no husband, she has no kids. And she forgave the man. If that woman is standing before God, and you say you cannot forgive, is it the same heaven we are going to? Or we are going to 2 heavens? So it raises Christians that have what? Because it is performance based. You know, when you are acting a movie, you can act a movie like a good man, but you're not a good man. So a criminal can come and act as a good guy in a movie. It's a show, it's performance based. It's based on legalism. There are few things you need to do. Pay your tithe, give your offering, come to church early, join the workers' department and all that, but inner transformation is missing. So the heart is dead, the conscience is dead, the guy has no relationship with Christ, but what? He's a Christian. Lack of mercy. Then he raises people that feels this emptiness. We call it spice up Christianity. He raises Christians that you need to spice up the presence of God. There are some people that cannot be in church for 3 hours except there's a comedian. There are some people that cannot be in church for 3 hours. If you are doing worship and prayer, they can't stay. It's not making sense to them. They can't flow in such an environment. Why? They have no relationship. The place becomes dry. When it comes to prayer, it comes to worship, they can't feel it. It's just strange to them. What they call church is a place where somebody comes on the altar, grand joke. Somebody come and dance, get us entertained. So they only function in an environment that is spiced up. If you need a spiced up environment to worship God, I'm sorry, you are not a Christian. Spiced up environment. Then you raise Christians that command letters, but zero attitude and morals. This is where I was talking. I was having a discussion with somebody, and we were discussing about the trend in churches today. I was also listening to a program, a Christian program, and the woman was saying why she's not married to date. She has met different Christian men, but when she gets into a relationship with them, she notices that their character is different. And according to her, these men were punctual in church. They come to church on Sunday, they come on Wednesday, they speak in tongues, they quote Bible verses, they're very good. When they are praying, they can quote Bible verses more than me. They quote from their head. They speak in tongues. They have this kind of tongues that when they start speaking, you even be stirred up to pray with them. But when you get closer to them, you notice that the same man has a morality issue. He cannot be trusted with money. He suppresses women. He has no respect. He's telling you, submit to me. But the Bible said, love your wife as Christ has loved the church. So he says, no, when it comes to love, keep that one aside. The submission one, do it. So what he's pushing is interpreting the Bible to suit himself. So he comes into a relationship to feed up a woman. So such men comes, they are targeting rich men in the church to get married to. The guy has no business with Christianity, where he can quote the Bible, he can fast, he can pray, he can speak in tongues. Why? So you have people that command letters, but zero attitude and morals. When we are growing up as Christians, we thought that this thing will end. And this thing started early 80s, 90s in some churches. When pastors increased offering time to 5 times, they now say you give offering, they remain offering. So at the time, a church couple at home and give offering 5 or 6 times. Why? Because the pastor needs more money. Some churches run fellowship Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Why? The pastor just needs to be on the altar and collect offering every day. So that was how greed entered into ministry. So instead of the pastors to have prayer meeting, no, he won't have prayer meeting or Bible study. He wants to have normal church service for 2 hours. Because once in church service, you must end up by giving off. So this thing started. There are what of them? The fake pastors, the native doctors, the palm readers, it got into ministry. Do you know why this is a problem for Nigeria? All the people that couldn't come into PFL during the time of Archbishop Billy Hussein are not only coming into the church, they are coming into the church, they are having the blessings of the fathers. And because they have been able to obtain the blessing of the fathers, they now have license to move to the mainstream of Christianity and deceive thousands and thousands of people. Next Sunday, I will be showing you the second pillar, the gospel of prosperity. I'm not against prosperity. I preach prosperity. I'm not a poor person. I'm a prosperous pastor. And God has blessed me. But I'm not against prosperity. But prosperity is not a gospel. It's an aftermath of obedience. It's something you do, you obtain after obeying. It is nothing. So if someone says I'm a prosperity preacher, he has not found his calling. When you meet an average Christian today in Nigeria, and you take that average Christian, you place him side by side, but an average Christian from Asia, you will understand what I'm talking about. And there's one thing that most of us are not aware of. I'm going to round off with this. I started by saying that Christianity is faith based on one, the life of Christ, that depicts or reflects his characters and morals. Then two, his death, that talks about sacrifices and trials in Christianity. And third, his resurrection, that shows his power and dominion over creation and over mankind. The reason why God placed it on those three pillars is because there's something that every Christian must go through, that is trial and tribulation. If the death part of Christianity is missing as a Christian in your life, you are finished. A man was asked, how do you see the world? He said, I see the world changing in the next 5 to 10 years. They asked him why. He said, because what artificial intelligence is supposed to do is that artificial intelligence at its peak is going to be smarter than humans and 10 times faster than humans. So if you came to church because of healing, a time will come where machines can create something that looks like eye, you will not be blind. If you come to that level, will you still love God? Because what brought you to church is not relationship, we need eyesight. So if a machine can create eyesight for you, will you still be a Christian? If you come to church because your problem is that you have cancer, you are believing God to cure you of cancer. When it gets to a period where a machine can operate you and kill all the cancerous cells in your body and you are okay, the question is, will you still come to church? Because now something outside church can take care of cancer. Do you see where we are headed? Do you see the doom that awaits us? Do you see the problem that Christianity will face in the nearest future? Do you see the importance why Christians should be taught the death of Christ and what he represents as a person? God brought Christianity to reflect his morals, his sacrifices, his power and dominion, so that what Jesus said can be justified. He said, justice, mercy, and what? And faith. Let's come to it.
Worship with us at 15 Osolo Way, Ajao Estate, off International Airport Road, Lagos, Nigeria. Time 9 a.m. every Sunday. Also, join us every last Friday of the month for a healing and communion service, a powerful night of miracles and restoration. For more info, contact us on 081 4834 7456 or 081 36 443 190. Follow us on Facebook at Selfless City, on TikTok at Selfless_City, on Instagram at Pastor_Paul_Adumoha, and subscribe on YouTube at Selfless City.